Thank you, ladies and gentlemen and staff, for your patience on this. We'll go ahead and open up our special City Council meeting of July 8th, 2020. Call this meeting to order. And to begin, I'd like to invite Captain Williams to lead us in our pledge.
Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, if everyone would join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Captain. Jennifer, would you please call roll?
Councilmember Riddell.
Here.
Councilmember Bogue.
Here.
Councilmember Duncan.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Allen.
Here.
Mayor Avila.
Here. Okay, moving to the next item. Mr. Casey, are there any changes to the agenda?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, staff would respectfully request that items number 4 and 5 be switched in order. There is some overlap, potential overlap there, depending on council's direction. And so it may be helpful to hear item number 5 before item number 4.
Okay, thank you very much, and you'll remind me, I'm sure.
Yep.
Okay, moving on to public comment. We have a couple of speakers who want to speak on, we have nothing for anything general. I stand corrected.
Sorry, this one was emailed into the city. Dear Mayor Avila and
Before we go, I just want to make an announcement that if anybody does want to speak, you'll have 3 minutes. We have speaker slips at the back of the table there, and you fill out your name and what you'd like to talk about. If there's something on the agenda you want to speak to, or just in general, you're more than welcome to just hand them to Jennifer. Once we finish this public comment, it's over. We won't come back and speak on any general item, just specific items. Thank you for your patience and understanding on that. I'm sorry, Jennifer, go ahead.
Just for clarification for our special meeting, that public comment is limited to items that are on this agenda.
Okay, I stand corrected on that.
So because it is a special meeting, we don't take general public comments.
correct.
Okay, thank you.
So Micah Rainey, Yucaipa resident. I was one of the community members who participated in the public comment and wanted to seek clarification on several items on the agenda. Item 1, which is the minutes before they are approved into record. During this 22nd meeting, comment time was limited to 2 minutes, though this is not noted in the proposed minutes. This appears to not follow Council Rule 5.2, which provides for a minimum speaking time of 3 minutes with no provision for City Council to reduce that time that I could find. Am I missing something? Also, Mr. Westwood's comment representing the Yucaipa Calamasa Democratic Club was cut off, though the same rules allow for more time when representing a group. A time extension was granted to a group of business owners on the 6-8 meeting. Why could the same not be extended to Mr. Westwood? I would like to receive clarification on both these decisions before approving the minutes. Thank you.
Okay, with respect to the first item, Mr. Casey?
Well, I think it's certainly within the rules for council to have 2-minute threshold, if you will, for speakers, and particularly in a night like that. And that's certainly allowed for in the rules. I think Jennifer has the section of our ordinance that details that.
Okay, and I think I can answer for the one regarding Mr. Westwood. Mark? He was given more than 2 minutes to speak. I gave everybody an opportunity to finish their thought beyond the 2-minute limit, and if it was compelling enough, I offered maybe another 30 seconds, which I think in this case I did. You need to take you need to check for sure, but he was given more than the 2-minute limit.
Question. That individual cited an ordinance. Is that right? Does that ordinance say that we can't change it, or we can change it? Or does it matter?
They cited the City Council Rule 5.2, which is a part of resolution number 2018-46, which is the procedure for council meetings and related functions and activities. However, Rule 5.4.4 allows, if it appears that several speakers desire to speak regarding a single topic, the presiding officer may reasonably limit the number of speaking as to each side of an issue,
Okay, thank you. Yeah,
which grants the mayor the right to adjust the time.
Okay, any further? Nothing? Okay, we'll go ahead and move over to the consent agenda. Is there any council member who wishes to remove an item for discussion? If not, do I hear a
I
motion?
would like to just remove item number 1.
Okay. Anything else? All right, do I hear a motion to accept the remaining?
So move.
We have a first
I'll second.
and a second.
This is for 2 and 3, right?
Yes, sir. Any further discussion? If not, Jennifer, will you call a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Riddell? Councilmember Riddell? Okay.
Seems to be a COVID glitch.
Aye.
Aye. Yeah.
Councilmember Bogue?
Aye.
Councilmember Duncan?
Yes?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Allen?
Aye.
Mayor Avila?
Yes. Okay, let's move to item number 1 then.
And my, just for clarification, the name of the gentleman that spoke for the Democratic Club, his name was recorded incorrectly. It is Mark Westwood. And was that already
That was changed in the
forwarded to
revised.
us
Yeah.
in an amended item? And then also the resolution also?
The resolution, we have met with the city attorney.
Aye. Did you get me?
Yes, sir, we did. Thank you very much.
We will include the resolution as part of our master packet in addition to all public comments received in writing and documents that are submitted
Aye.
at a council meeting.
Okay, so, but my question then is, if somebody asked for it to be part of the official record, just for clarification, what does that mean that they will receive? Because he asked for that at the meeting.
It will be a part of the official record in terms of the master packet file, which is in a hard copy in the city clerk's office, on our website, and in Laserfish.
Okay. With that, I'll move the item.
I'll second.
We have a first and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? I'm sorry, Jennifer, will you take a roll call vote?
Councilmember Riddell?
Maybe there's a delayed reaction.
Councilmember Riddell, we're taking a vote on approval of the minutes of last meeting. How do you vote?
Councilmember Bogue?
Aye.
Councilmember Duncan?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Allen?
Aye.
Mayor Avila?
Aye. Are we allowed to go ahead and move forward pending response from Councilmember Riddell, or should we stick around and wait for him?
You would be allowed to move on. I think just maybe we should take this opportunity to try and fix our technical glitches before we move on to other items on the agenda for Councilmember Riddell.
So move to the next item is okay?
No, I think we
Just
should
wait?
wait
Okay.
and see if we can make sure that Councilmember Riddell's technology is working, and then we can move on.
Okay. Councilmember Riddell?
revote?
If we could just ask
Councilmember Riddell, can you hear us?
I'm here, yes.
So I'll do a,
Just, I think if we could just, Councilmember Riddell, we currently have 4 votes for a motion for the minutes with a modification to the name of one of the speakers. And I think we're awaiting your vote on that motion.
I'm voting aye on it, but something went wrong and you couldn't hear me.
okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so item number 1 passes unanimously. Moving on-
Okay.
Moving on to mayor and council member business. Any council member business to report?
This is Dick Riddell. I have nothing.
Okay. Moving on to item number 5. Or do we want to skip to pending legislation?
I have nothing this evening on pending
Okay.
legislation, Mr. Mayor. Item number 5 is the CARES Act relief funding allocation. This is state funding that is distributed among cities throughout the state in the total amount of $500 million. The city of Yucaipa's share of that is about $688,000. As is often the case with state funding, there are conditions, requirements associated with that, and certain options available to the city relative to how that funding may be spent, but it all needs to be related to COVID-19 and somewhat related to homelessness as a second alternative. The options available to council start with our unemployment costs. I would suggest that, I would recommend that that be kind of the primary use of the funding, plus the additional or the cost that we've already incurred relative to the testing that we held up at the college and some other costs that are clearly eligible, additional cleaning in our parks and city facilities, and some other eligible costs we think are in the neighborhood of $80,000 to $90,000 that we've already incurred. But on top of that, we estimate kind of worst case scenario somewhere in the neighborhood of $400,000 in unemployment costs this year due to the federal legislation and guidelines and to a lesser extent the state guidelines. And the reason for that is contract staff, temporary staff that we were no longer able to employ because we weren't able to do a number of programming efforts because of COVID-19 guidelines. And as a result of that, those folks are all able to apply for unemployment. That has not been the case in the past. It's just when temporary staff isn't needed for certain programming, they are no longer with us until the next year when the programming starts again. And so this is kind of an unintended consequence, perhaps, of the federal guidelines, federal legislation. Maybe it wasn't intended. But anyway, those are costs that are clearly eligible for use of the funds. And the other additional cleaning costs and staff that is primarily or entirely allocated to COVID-19 related services would also be eligible. We think that there probably is somewhere in the neighborhood of $150,000 to $200,000 left over for council to consider relative to prospective tasks that COVID-19 related funding could be used for. Some of the examples could be augmenting the small business loan grant program that we've already kind of started using the $202,000 in CDBG funding that we've received. Has been some challenges associated with overcoming some requirements in that area, but it looks like we've overcome those and are ready to, pretty much ready to move forward on that. So we could augment that. And we plan on sending staff out starting tomorrow to remind folks of those opportunities, plus the county opportunities. There's still a lot of funding left in the $30 million that the county allocated for small business grants for efforts related to COVID-19 and restarting restaurants and other facilities, other businesses. Another option, part of the reason I thought it might be helpful to reverse the order of the staff reports is Yucaipa Outreach. They are as you know, our arm, a partner in terms of Redlands FSA, in terms of dealing with meals and hotel vouchers for keeping people from becoming homeless or homeless folks. That's been a successful partnership over the last number of years. One option might be to fund that program with use of some of these funds. Smiles for Seniors is doing some of that as well. That's another option. And I want to point out that it does require certification. The attached letter of certification, a lot of cities haven't signed or have signed that, sent that along. I thought it would be important to have a public discussion about the use of the funds this evening and recognize the certification requirements and acting consistent with the COVID-19 guidelines, executive orders that may occur now and in the future. And so it is a requirement of obtaining the funds. We have to use the funds by October, so it's not kind of a program that lends itself well to brand new programs. It certainly lends itself better to use of existing programs with our existing partners. It could also be some educational partner opportunities as well. So because of the short time frame, I would not recommend trying to put together a new program, but augmenting existing programs or using this source of funding versus community activity grant funding or other sources is a good option perhaps. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Any questions of staff?
Yeah, this is Dick Riddell. This $5,000 that's being requested by the Service Association, Yucaipa Outreach, in item number 4, this $5,000 being requested, you think can be paid into this program, right?
I do, yes.
Okay. I'm planning on that. Okay.
I have the same comment. I mean, the outreach to people who, and certainly the numbers, I wouldn't be surprised at all if the numbers are not going up in regards to people that are teetering on the edge with the financial hardship that has resulted from this COVID-19 crisis that we're in. I would say that given the amount of money that we have to look at, perhaps for this particular time frame, that we actually double that amount of money for the Yucaipa outreach, as well as the Smiles for Seniors. I know because I've spoken with them several times throughout this last few months, the work that they are doing on behalf of our seniors in terms of delivering food, providing the necessities that they need because they're homebound seniors. I'm sure that even double what they're asking out of this COVID relief fund would certainly help them. Masks that they could purchase and provide to our senior citizens to keep them safe. I mean, I think that they certainly would qualify, and this money is definitely coming our way. It's not when will we receive this money?
It starts very quickly. It comes in, I think, 6 installments between now and October. But again, the downside is the certification process, and they will claw back some of the money if we're not following their guidelines, and that happens by December. So.
And do you think that both those organizations, the Family Services Association and the Smiles for Seniors, with the work that they have been doing and I'm sure, going to plan to continue to do fits all of the check boxes that we're going to have to check?
Yep, absolutely. I think any of those things that you described, the masks, the food, any of that would be an eligible expenditure.
Is it okay if they have submitted requests to speak, that we could hear from those two organizations if we're going to fund them from this stream? Did they submit, and could we hear from them now? Is that okay, or how do we do that?
So are you suggesting that we honor the 5 and then add 5 to the Smiles for Seniors? Is that what you're suggesting?
We just give them 10 each out of this extra 150, to 200,000 that we're talking about using or finding a use for, because it seems very appropriate use for that additional funding for these particular types of services that are being done and probably need to be ramped up right now with what's going on.
And a question you may ask them, if you wish to have them speak on this item, is do they feel like they can expend those funds wisely by the end of October? That's the time frame.
So did you also suggest that we might use some of these funds to help the businesses? We already have a program that's in effect that's doing that now, right?
Yes, and we may need to come back to you, but what we're hearing from the CDBG folks is that their recommendation is a minimum loan that ripens to a grant of $10,000 per business, just because of the effort that it takes to go through the process with a business, which obviously will reduce the number of businesses that we can help with $202,000. And so it may be helpful to augment that with some of the CARE Act funding, and that would be we believe that would be an eligible use of the funding as well.
I definitely would support that too, especially now that all of these businesses are having to move outdoors, and a lot of them are not set up to do that with the covers and the tables and everything that I know they're scrambling to try to acquire to get their service to continue as they figure out a way to serve food to people that still want to come to their restaurants but have to be outdoors right now. I know Copper Kettle's made some quick changes, but certainly some funds, those, purchasing those things, it takes money to get shade structures and the right kind of tables, make sure you're meeting all of the codes still that are required as they figure out their way through this.
Restaurants.
Well, I agree 100%.
Yeah.
Okay, is everyone good with having the representatives from Smiles from Seniors and FSA say a few words? I do have one, I know of Smiles from Seniors, Catherine Suriani. Would you like to say a few words? Yes, please come up. And if there's a representative from FSA, they can come up next. Go ahead, you have 3 minutes.
Hello, Council. I just want to thank all of you for inviting us here and for the past support and for your friendship towards our seniors. As you know, they really are struggling right now. We've been making food bags for between 75 to 100 seniors and delivering them to homebound seniors. Along with what we do every day is we help low-income seniors when they can't afford to buy food or medication. We help with rental assistance. We help with utilities, medical equipment. So we're all the basic necessities needed to survive. So anything you could do would just be, we'd be so grateful and thankful. So if you guys have any questions, you can let me know.
Thank you.
I think the question is, if we were to award an amount of 10,000, would you be able to expend that by October as is required with the CARES Act?
October this year?
Yes, ma'am.
We could do it, but I think we would need to get like a campaign going or something. That's quite a lot of money and,
Maybe 5, maybe is.
What do you think about 5?
5 we could do easy, but yeah, 10 we'd have to ask people if they need, anything. Normally, they come to us. And, I mean, we could advertise, what we do and, give more gift cards for food, something like that.
Is that a resounding yes, you could, or no?
Which, the 5, absolutely. The 10 might be a little tough in 3 months. Just being honest.
But 5 is okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right, any further comments or questions of staff? Thank you, Catherine.
Okay, thank you.
So would that require them to withdraw their application for the CAG grant?
Yes, if council gives staff direction, concurrence is enough to move forward with the $5,000 for them from the community, or the ACTS funding, CARES Act funding, then that would be my recommendation, is to ask them to withdraw that application under the community activity grant.
Okay.
Okay, we need a motion to approve.
No, what about the FSA? We did get a statement from them, correct?
She's in the audience.
Ray, did we get an update from them for the,
Yucaipa outreach?
did this come, oh, okay.
Okay. Hi, good afternoon. Thank you so much for the opportunity to present. We're so grateful for your amazing support. As a reminder, we have an office on 4th Street, 11985 4th Street. I'm in the city of Yucaipa. For the past few years, you guys have been so wonderful to support us. And I wanted to provide a little bit of information about what we did in 2019. We wrapped up and researched and validated our numbers. We provided 19 families with 23 months of emergency rental assistance, and several of those families were out of homelessness and into stabilized housing. We provided 14 motel vouchers to people who claimed that they were homeless but had no other shelter options in the moment. 39 households received clothing from our clothing room, and 134 unduplicated Yucaipa residents secured food assistance from our food pantry. We administered 43 households with hygiene kits, and we hosted 12 service orientations at the Yucaipa Senior Center. One of those was aimed towards the Calamasa Fire residents. And we started a food box distribution program with the new COVID pandemic and served 160 families from Yucaipa 234 bags of food. We are confident that if awarded, we would be able to expend. As you know, rental assistance alone, that program is very expensive just by nature of the fair market rate of an affordable apartment. So we are confident that we could expend it appropriately and within that time frame.
And Mr. Mayor, there's another option as well, and you may want to consider, is for both of these groups to maybe cut the request in half for the community activity grant program so they can continue the services throughout the year. And fund some amount out of this CARES Act funding.
Yeah, I agree. Are
And the same question to her, if she would come back.
are you Kyra Stewart?
I'm Kyra.
Kyra? Okay,
I'm the executive director, Kyra Stewart.
okay.
And the same question to you in terms of the amount of funds, as far as being able to expend 5 or 10 by end of October?
Absolutely. Whatever you want to expend to us, we can proactively figure out how to expend it quickly.
And you understand the consequences if you can't?
Yes,
And we will need to document that as well, so.
yes.
Okay. All righty, so any further discussion or questions or comments? Do I hear a motion?
I would suggest then that we go ahead and give the Family Services Association 10 out of the CARES, and the Smiles for Seniors 5 out of the CARES, because it sounds like both of them can do the work related to the needs of our community during this time as required by the stipulations of the grant. And then perhaps look at the remaining funds. We only talked about helping with our businesses and providing some support to augment while they try to figure out their way, especially our restaurants, for how to stay open while we continue to move forward. It doesn't look like we have any end in sight at this point. That would be my, do we
I'll
have?
second.
Okay.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Any further discussion?
If I may, Mr. Mayor, if
Yes,
I
sir.
could ask for just a little flexibility in that last piece. If the council would be willing to authorize some flexibility with the city manager. What's happening with the county funding is they're just not getting enough takers. And I don't want to, with the short time frame we have, what I could interpret is that certainly that the small business loan / grant program would be the #1 priority, but a little bit of flexibility if we're not getting enough interest fast enough, if that's okay.
In terms of the residual funds, the $150,000 to $200,000, I'm okay with that, because we do want to spend the funds, and if we can't get it done that way, we don't want to leave it on the table.
Okay,
I'm
Got
okay
that?
with that.
all righty.
Modified motion.
You agree with the modification?
Yes.
All right, we have a first and a second. Hearing no further discussion, Jennifer, you take a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Riddell. Councilmember Riddell. Again. Councilmember Riddell.
God dang it. Aye.
Councilmember Bogue.
Aye.
Councilmember Duncan. Mayor Pro Tem Allen.
Aye.
Mayor Avila.
Yes. All right, it
What's this, a ding?
passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Moving to item number 4. And I think that'll be,
Yes, thank you, Mayor.
You can't hear me.
Avila, I will at this time present the general report. Once I conclude my report and before you start establishing recommendations on who you'd like to allocate funds to, we would ask that Mayor Avila remove himself from the council chambers so that the remaining council members could discuss the Chamber of Commerce request. And then Mayor Avila can come back into the council chambers, and then we'll look at the community foundation, of which then we'll ask Councilmember Bogue and Duncan to remove themselves from council chambers so that the remaining members of council then can determine if funds to be
I can hear them, but they can't hear me.
We, so, on May 27th,
Thank you, Jennifer. Just a little clarification for council members Duncan and Bogue. It's because they sit on the board of the foundation, and under the conflict rules, when you sit on a board of a foundation and have that type of control, shouldn't participate in the decision. So that's why they would not participate in the funding for the community
We don't
foundation.
benefit personally from
Understood.
any decisions made about that foundation, do we?
Nope, that's absolutely correct. However, the rules relate to positions on boards. And in those contexts, there's also a need to recuse. So that's the background. Mr. Casey will not be involved in that conversation either,
I'm also on the foundation board.
nor will Ms. Crawford. So for
Once
that
I-
conversation, it'll just be without their participation.
So once I present, I'll just push back from the mic. How about that? Okay, so on May 27th, 2020, council approved the CAG program guidelines and funding levels for fiscal year 2021. On June 8th and June 22nd, you approved several accountability wrap-up reports, which also included 9 organizations that were impacted by COVID. All 9 were for in-kind allocations, so they just didn't need city facilities for their events. On June 22nd, council reduced the financial grant allocation to $17,435, which was $17,500 prior to that, to address a shortfall in the fiscal year 2021 non-department, not-for-profit account to get that money back for interfaith, as you recall. Also, funding in the amount of $1,000 for the annual Rotary Club Christmas Parade has been added to the non-department, not-for-profit budget, which is shown on Exhibit B, page 45 of your packet. A total of 15 applications requested in-kind and/or financial support that are being presented to you this evening for review and your consideration. Exhibit C outlines grants awarded to the organizations over the past 3 years, and a prioritization section has been provided for you in the packet and is displayed here on the screen to help you track whatever monetary amounts and in-kind amounts you'd like to allocate to the various requesting agencies. In addition, staff has redistributed the CAG grant tracker document that highlights awards that you have granted since 2010 to current, which was also presented to you on May 27th. So all documents other than what you just determined, we will reflect, we'll take them off the sheet for both the Yucaipa Outreach or Family Services and Smiles. There are several organizations here before you this evening that would like to speak. So at this time, I will stop my presentation. And will they listen to the speakers at this point, or?
Yeah, I'd suggest we could take the speakers first, and then after that.
And then I can recuse myself from
Conversation. will
from the first
start.
conversation. Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
We made a decision a while back that, and I don't remember all the details, but we made a decision that if an organization had received 3 years in a row, that they were no longer eligible for a certain amount of time.
That's a part of your guidelines for this year, and so this will be year one.
This starts this year?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah. Is that going to apply to Smiles for Seniors and Yucaipa Outreach also? Going forward, is that going to apply to them?
Well, they wouldn't be counted in the CAG grant then this year, but based on council direction in the meetings of June, I think 8th, that if an applicant, whether it be financial or in kind, the council gave direction to where after receiving funds for 3 years, that each year would be reduced, and after the third year, their organization would no longer be funded based on council direction.
We
Unless
didn't,
they're
we didn't
award-
agree to that on the in-kind.
No, we did not agree to that
We
on
only
the
agreed to
in-kind.
that on the cat.
Okay, well, we can change that.
And if they,
Agreed.
just to clarify, if they are awarded this evening under the CAG program, then
It
they would-
doesn't apply.
Well, it would if they get a cash award this evening on top of what you've already done.
Oh, I understand. Yes.
Yeah, so the clock starts ticking now, but just for transparency, we did put into the rules that that the funding will be reduced by 80% and then 50% of whatever they received, and then at the third year, they need to be on their own feet.
If you look at page 39 of the staff report, beginning in fiscal year 2021, reducing financial grant awards for returning organizations in year one, they'll get 100%. Year two, it'd be reduced by 75, and year three would be 50, and 0 thereafter.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does say financial. Okay, yes.
Is that of the amount requested, or is that from the previous year's granted amount?
That's a great.
I think that's
Because
just
I could
what our
easily come in and
interpretation
ask
is,
for
to be
double if you're
specific.
going to reduce it by 50%.
I would think you'd do it so if you grant the money this year, next year if they reapply, it'd be the reductions based on what they received this first year.
What we actually granted.
Okay, I just want to make
The
sure.
amount granted that you awarded, yes.
Okay.
We probably need to clarify that somewhere.
Okay, let's go ahead and let's start with our speakers. First one is Donna Solomon. Ms. Solomon, if you restate your name and your address, you have 3
Yes.
minutes. Thank you.
My name is Donna Solomon. I'm with Garden Works for Kids Yucaipa. Our address is 10966 Bryant Street in Yucaipa, California. I'm the program director for Garden Works. And I wanted to talk today about Garden Works. When we applied for this grant, we had been trying for the last couple of years to raise money for a drip irrigation system for Garden Works, so we can teach the kids about using resources effectively, reducing our costs by 33% by doing the irrigation system. We raised half of the money and reached out to the city for the other half to help us, because it's required by the city through the Planning Commission to complete the drip irrigation system, and also save us time. 3 hours a day hand watering could be reduced, and that can go into programming. But something really drastic happened with the COVID that hit the Garden Works program. In 2 days, we were booked solid from February all the way to the end of July with field trips from schools. We're in 9 school districts. We serve over 1,200 kids a month that come to us, and we address the issues of child obesity, nutrition, healthy lifestyle, and also love of gardening. Well, what happened is within 2 days, all our events canceled. That reduced the amount of money coming to our nonprofit by 90%. And so we've been selling garden boxes in homes, businesses. Parents are buying the boxes to be installed at home so that the kids can garden. And then our garden was closed. We then started doing, because of the children being isolated, we were contacted by Loma Linda Health, Behavioral Health, saying the increase, because the children are being isolated, not allowed to go outside and intermingle with other children, they've seen an increase of 300% in adolescent suicides and also mental health depression. They're not able to go to parks and play. They're not able to go places and do things. So they have come to us and said, what can you do? What can we do? So that even the cancer patients at Loma Linda are now coming to us, because they're not able to get outside, they're depressed, they're going through treatments. So effective the day before Father's Day, the 18th, we've been allowed to reopen the garden as long as we have groups of 15 in each class. We rotate. We all our COVID restrictions and qualifications are met. So we've been opened up. We are now seeing 15 kids. We schedule it every hour and a half. They come in, they're able to be kids. And we're seeing a big difference, because some of these kids haven't been out of the house in 3 to 4 months. They've become introverted. They're shutting down emotionally. And so the garden is a place. We have people coming from Yorba Linda so their kids can play. So I just want to say we're at crisis with our kids, and we need to address that too. And so we asked for the $2,500, and we would like to approach the city and say we need additional materials to go ahead and buy extra tables and COVID things to PPPs, things that and learning supplies, so that we can supply this to the kids of the area.
Thank you.
I have a question for you. Can I ask a question? Last year, didn't you get your application in late and you had a request in?
And I was
And
the
then you
first
didn't get
one, I
any money
think.
last year because you were late getting your application in?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yes, and so I made sure that I was on calendar and I was first. And,
Thank you very much.
And so I appreciate it. Thank you very much for your time.
I have a question of Ray, just real quick. Can they apply as a business to get help with this CARES Act funds?
It's a little less clear. The first two are very clear. This one is a little less clear. Has to have a direct relationship with COVID-19. The speaker, came up with certainly some relationship issues some of the issues have been related to COVID-19. Whether the funding
Not the project, not the
Right.
project they're asking for, but the other issue. Just maybe you could meet with them and talk
PPPs
about the
perhaps, yes.
PPE and
Yes,
that kind of
yeah,
stuff. Okay,
yeah,
thanks.
yeah.
All right, next one is Kristen Fox Barlick.
Hi, my name is Kristen Fox Barlick, and I'm with the Yucaipa Valley Gem and Mineral Society. Would you like my address or home address or the
Gem
club's
and
address?
Minerals, fine.
Gem and Mineral our workshop is at 34861 Yucaipa Boulevard. We're here today to apply to the Community Arts Grant. The club has been active in Yucaipa for over 60 years and always well received by the youth at the Music and Arts Festival. But as evidenced by they enjoy the geocracker and gold panning and learning about how to make jewelry. So we're applying for a grant to begin a children's program aimed at high schoolers, grades 9 through 12 at our clubhouse. Currently, children are welcome if their parents are members, and their parents have to be there. Also, we've welcomed Boy Scouts to teach them things about geology and basic lapidary skills. But when we have children there, then that takes away time and equipment from paid members. So, we get by on donations and membership fees from our members. So having a children's program separate would be beneficial to us. The program would be good for the city of Yucaipa in that, it offers activities for children, gives them, or teenagers, gives them a safe place to congregate and nurture their ideas and educate them in earth sciences and geology and general arts, such as jewelry making, and give them a place to socialize. Another reason it would be great for Yucaipa is that it's an affordable activity for the parents to send their children. You don't have to be a member the idea is to not have to be a member to come and take part in the children's program at the club. Hopefully it would be free for them. And lastly, in Yucaipa, there are sports are very well represented here, but there's not as much in the way of science and technology. So we feel like this program would be beneficial in nurturing art and science. So lastly, our club is aging out, and so it's important to us that we make our presence better known in the community so that usher in a new generation of artists and scientists and stewards of the environment. That's all.
Thank you very much.
And you're the Gem and Mineral, right?
Yes, I'm the president.
Yeah, I have a hard time understanding muffle. I apologize.
I'm sorry.
And where would you do this at?
We could do it at our current workshop now. We have indoor.
Which is where?
At 34861 Yucaipa Boulevard.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Where America's Tire Shop is, on the boulevard across from Del Taco?
Yes.
Yeah.
At the first roundabout.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Ms. Green. I'm sorry. Leola Green?
That's item number 8.
Oh, I'm sorry, I grabbed the wrong one. I'm sorry. Donna Kay Ostrander. Or Gloria Young.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. I am Gloria Young. Donna K. Ostrander is also here. We're here representing the Yucaipa Rotary Club, and we have asked again for your continued co-sponsorship and financial partner in the Yucaipa Christmas Parade. The in-kind support would be the $43.16 and 25 cents, and the $1,000 financial support. The Rotary Club is a true partner in this, in that we do allocate $5,000 from our funds to put on the parade. It's an expensive event from that standpoint, and so we're asking again for you to continue that support and partnership for this year, hopefully. And that's it. Any questions?
No questions, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Ray, just for clarification, we put the financial into our budget, or it's budgeted in our
Correct.
regular budget line, so that's a done deal for them for as long as they continue to do the parade, essentially.
The Christmas parade, yes.
Right.
Yes.
The funding for the Christmas parade is under the non-department.
Right.
That what they're asking for in the grant is in-kind
Got it.
services.
Just for clarification.
Yep.
Okay.
Can I ask a question about the women's club real quick? Would that be okay? I know.
Well, are they going to speak?
Say what?
Do they?
Yeah, after they speak, yeah,
Okay.
certainly. Virginia Cosby.
My question was of Ray, actually, not the women's club.
About the Women's Club?
The Rotary?
Club, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
May I ask a question of Ray?
Can you wait till they speak?
Sure,
and then-
sure.
Then you can ask.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm Virginia Cosby, 34457 Fairview Drive, Yucaipa. I'm currently the treasurer of the Yucaipa Women's Club. The Women's Club has been a part of the community for 98 years. The clubhouse itself was built in 1922 and will become a historical building in 2022. It has housed the first Chamber of Commerce in the city, the first library, was a Red Cross aid station in World War II, and has shared many dinners and dances and weddings and parties and workshops with the residents of the city. In the year 2000, we almost shut down because of low membership and high maintenance. Thanks to a grant from the city that year and improving membership, we've recovered to an extent. We now have almost 100 members, each working to support the building and give back to the community. But right now we're closed due to the virus, so our finances are again hurting. Each grant that we have received from the city has been very carefully used to improve the clubhouse, such as adding an ADA-compliant bathroom, improving the other bathrooms, the plumbing, things like that. We appreciate the grants you have given and hope you will think of us again this year. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I happen to know for a fact that because of this COVID-19, they have not been able to have any activities there at all. And because of that, they have their costs are $1,500 a month, and they're strapped pretty hard for cash. Could that be something that the CARES program could we give them money for? That's a COVID-related expense to save that organization.
So if it's for the organization itself, it would have to be tied to COVID-19 related programming, like meals, like something like that.
Okay.
You know, it's a larger conversation, but there may come a time where we may want to work with them for the city to own the building. That might make things a little different, but it's probably not going to be an eligible expense at this point. So, and I'm not sure they'd even want to do that, but that may be an option down the road, like we have with some other buildings.
Okay. Bob Miller?
Can I take my mask off to speak? Thank you. Hello, Honorable Mayor and City Council. I'm here on behalf of my beautiful wife, Kathy Miller, principal at Valley Elementary. This Wednesday meeting, she had a scheduling conflict, so she wanted me to read a letter to you on the request from Valley Elementary. So, Honorable Mayor and City Council members, my name is Kathy Miller. I'm obviously Bob. And I'm blessed to be the principal of Valley Elementary, a lighthouse leader in me school. 4 years ago, the learning community of Valley Elementary embarked on a journey to redefine the school. We knew that we had to compete in the global world. We needed to focus on ways that students could thrive in the 21st century. After much research and community involvement, we knew that we needed to focus on a whole school improvement program. Our focus became a Leader in Me, which is Stephen Covey's 8 Habits for Successful Students and Kids. Leader in Me helps schools create well-rounded learners by developing the whole person and preparing students to become life-ready leaders. We could all use that. Leader in Me unites students, staff, families, and community. around a common goal to prepare students with college, career, and life readiness skills that are necessary to thrive in an ever-changing, fast-paced environment. Skills like critical thinking, self-discipline, initiative, goal achievement, and public speaking, just to name a few. Every year, Valley's Learning Community sponsors a Leadership Day in which students showcase their abilities and lead over 300 visitors on campus. Then they visit and they have these embedded activities that are just outstanding. It's a great event. Many of you have participated and made that event successful and contributed to the campus. They continue to plan for the annual event, though they are hopeful they will be able to modify the event in order to comply with COVID-19 mandates. This grant will help purchase a podium, provide team leadership vests for the children, help with the production of invitations, mailing, advertising, signage, banners, and the hospitality room. Many of the items requested will be one-time purchases, but will be used daily by the students. In conclusion, I want to thank you for the opportunity to share Valley's journey as a city partner. We hope that you will consider Valley for the City of Yucaipa's Community Activity Grant. Thank you for your time. Best regards, Kathy Miller.
Thank you, sir. All right, Bob Norris.
Mayor Avila, council members, I'm Bob Norris, the president of the Yucaipa Valley Art Association, 33437 Somerset Road, Yucaipa. And we'd like to thank you, first of all, for your past support and for your interest in keeping the Yucaipa Valley Art Association going. Secondly, I think like a lot of people here, we feel cheated by the coronavirus for not being able to put on our annual spring art show, and we just know that most of you have been part of that in the past, and we appreciate your help. And so we're looking forward to asking you again to help us get started again with the in-kind community activities grant monies for this next year. And we appreciate, again, all that you've done for us in the past, and look forward to serving the community with our spring art show and our monthly meetings, which are open to the public and bring in a lot of interest for the art community. So thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Now, Paul Toomey. You have 30 seconds.
Wow.
Just
kidding.
kidding.
You know I can't do anything in 30 seconds. I am Paul Toomey. I am the president of the Yucaipa Community Foundation, and standing with me is Scott Ward, who is also a member of the Community Foundation board. And Scott has a couple, why don't you use that one right there?
This one's on? Oh, nice.
Keep our distance and all that stuff.
Mr. Mayor and council members, I have been in front of you on a number of occasions as representative of San Bernardino County 3rd District Supervisor Don Rao. Today, I am here on behalf of Yucaipa Community Foundation. In the way of giving a bit of history for audience members and for the record, the Yucaipa Community Foundation was started in 2016 with a mission of making visual and performing arts more accessible to our residents in the community. And that is primarily in conjunction with the amazing uptown facility, Yucaipa Performing Arts Center. As we are all aware, the pandemic situation has created a lot of challenges for everyone, including the nonprofit sector, that has derailed many fundraising efforts, including ours. Even so, we are optimistic about being able to hold an event before the end of the year. We need to hold an event. We need to raise some funds because we have a goal of purchasing a baby grand piano. So we do need to get some fundraising efforts underway. We already have engaged in that with the sale of personalized brick pavers that are to be installed outside of the Yucaipa Performing Arts Center. And that is where my colleague Paul Toomey is going to tell you more details.
And Scott missed a meeting. We actually bought the grand piano. So that part was successful.
So we have to pay for it now.
Well, we do. It was on your credit card. Thank you, Scott. So the event that we held last year at the end of the year, the New Year's Gala, was a really fun event, very well attended, and actually made a few dollars for the foundation itself. We'd like to build on that momentum. Of course, we are in a different environment right now, but nonetheless, we are still planning a year-end event. It may not be exactly like that, but of course, those events require a certain amount of funding. It would pretty much exhaust all the funding the foundation has to put on the event for this year. And so that is part of the request, $5,000 to help pay for those expenses. Some of that, of course, goes to entertainment. Some of that is for the actual rental of the equipment necessary, as well as the actual operating expenses of it. Council is going to be hearing or going to take in consideration a memorandum of understanding between the foundation and City Council here, possibly at the next meeting. That may help with some of that as well in terms of facility rental and other marketing opportunities. Nonetheless, there's still a fair amount of expenses that have to be managed through an event process. The bricks that Scott mentioned, the pavers, there's about 100 of them that have been sold so far, and those owners are ready to see their pavers in the ground. And so there's been a challenge in getting those installed. Our city engineer has put together a nice little detail about how they have to be installed. Didn't realize it was going to be so expensive. And so city staff has agreed to, or at least if council would support that idea, take out the material that's in the way of the pavers and have volunteers put that in place. Right now, Bow Construction is considering doing that, and maybe volunteers from the board itself would put the rest of the pavers in. So those are the two items that we're looking for, $5,000 in cash and $900 in in-kind expenses.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just real fast question, Paul. How much are the pavers?
The pavers themselves are $100 and $150, depending on the size you get.
Okay, thank you. I have no other speaker slips. So at this time, it's time for discussion, and I'm going to have to recuse myself. I'd like to go ahead and call the Yucaipa Valley Chamber of Commerce away from the rest of the in-kind support, and I'll go ahead and give the chair to Mayor Pro Tem Allen.
So under our in-kind requests, the funding for the Yucaipa Valley Chamber of Commerce is in the amount of $3,326.50 for the services as delineated in the staff agenda item. Is everybody okay with allocating that amount of money for this purpose?
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to go ahead and move forward with the request from the Yucaipa Valley Chamber of Commerce. Any comments on that? Councilman Riddell, any comment?
Aye.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and do a roll call vote. Jennifer?
Councilmember Riddell,
Aye.
Councilmember Bogue,
Aye.
Councilmember Duncan,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Allen,
Aye.
Mayor Avila.
So with that, we'll go ahead and call the mayor back in and take up the remainder of the items under the in-kind requests. For the in-kind requests?
The bricks.
The next item when the
Okay,
mayor
so we'll
returns.
take up the Yucaipa Valley, the
Community Foundation.
the Community Foundation, which is the last item, and you two need to exit the room. And I'll hand it back over to the mayor, and we'll do the bottom in-kind request, the $900 for the Yucaipa Community Foundation. Anybody, you want me to just finish this out?
Yes, please.
Okay. Anybody have any, Councilman Riddell, do you have any comments on that $900 request?
Any comments about what?
the $900 request from the Yucaipa Community Foundation to assist with the laying of the bricks.
On the in-kind,
Yes, sir.
I have no problems with the in-kind, no.
Would you like to move the item?
I'll second.
I'll go ahead and move the item.
Oh, I thought you did.
Yeah. I asked Councilman Riddell if he wanted to, but that's okay. I'll go ahead and move the item, and you seconded it, so could we do a roll call vote on that?
Councilmember Riddell,
Yes,
Councilmember Bogue, Councilmember Duncan, Mayor Pro Tem Allen,
Aye.
Mayor Avila.
Yes.
So do we want to bring them back in?
I think we would need to next also deal with the financial contribution aspect of the community foundation request.
But that's hard because we might need to juggle the funds, so how do we do that? I mean, I have 4,000 in mind for that particular line now that we have removed the family services and the smiles, but that might shift depending on what others are requesting for the other applicant requests.
And unfortunately, that's a complication when we have these types of conflicts. The segmentation rules allow us to move forward and make final decisions on these, and then those who have conflicts can participate in the balance. So at this point, the 3 participating council members would need to reach a conclusion about that. I realize it's complicating because of the the pool of funds that you're allocating here. That's how the conflict rules would have us proceed, though.
I'm okay with allocating 4,000 to the Yucaipa Community Foundation.
I'm good with that.
Councilman Riddell, do you have any?
I don't have anything for them on the financial.
All right, I'd like to move to approve.
Second.
Why don't we just go down the list on what we are and see how we agree and disagree?
Well,
Go down that list.
just for clarification, Councilman Riddell, we had to have Councilman Duncan and Councilman Bogue leave the room
Oh, okay.
for this item, so we need to come to a resolution on this particular item first.
Okay. Well, I don't have any. I'm not awarding them anything on the financial support.
So I allocated 4,000, and
I second it.
So you could proceed to a roll call vote with 3
And then-
participating members. Two votes would be sufficient for the motion to pass.
Oh, okay. Go
Council-
ahead.
Councilmember Riddell,
No.
Councilmember Bogue, Councilmember Duncan, Mayor Pro Tem Allen,
Aye.
Mayor Avila.
Aye. Okay, so we can call it the rest of,
Yes, and so now we'll proceed with the remaining, council members Bogue and Duncan can join us, and we'll proceed with the rest of the line items here.
okay, so are we going back to in-kind?
Yes. I would move that we go ahead and fund all the remainders at the amounts requested for a total allocation of $13,277.25.
I second.
Hey, we have a first and a second. Any further discussion?
Did you say
And
13?
what was the proposal? What was the motion?
Oh, I missed I had a question about the Yucaipa Bike Classic. That was the only one. That's why the number's smaller. So could you tell us what the status is on that event, Jennifer? Because I heard the city of Redlands was out.
So yes, I apologize. I was supposed to mention that in the staff report. So due to COVID impacts to the city of Redlands budget, it did come out in the paper that all nonprofit funding and in-kind waivers were not going to be a part of the Redlands budget in this current fiscal year. I did reach out to the city of Redlands, and at this point, that's the case. However, there's two issues regarding that race. Obviously, it's a long-standing race in the city of Redlands and surrounding communities. The group is trying to raise the monies necessary to hold the event. However, with their budget cuts in the police department, the current statement from the city is that even if they do raise all the funds, the policing is not, they don't have the adequate resources to provide police coverage for the event. However, who knows where they're going to be in a few months, and who knows if the council approves the event. It's just kind of unknown at this time, but as of right now, when I called a few weeks ago, that they don't have the funding in the budget to support the race.
Can we approve it, and then if they don't use it, it just,
Yeah, it'd be like similar to this year, to where it just, we don't extend the money. It is all in kind anyway, so we
Right.
just wouldn't provide the services.
Did you say that the city of Redlands cut their police budget, or did I hear that wrong?
Correct.
Really?
Okay, Councilmember Allen, did you want to amend?
I'm okay with that. It would be, I think that it would be, I would like to have an update from them as soon as possible, at least in terms of whether or not they're going to move forward. But it makes no difference. The only difference is that it's a 22,18625 total, and if it doesn't happen, it just, it just goes back.
Okay, could you for,
So I just approve everything else that's left.
Okay.
That's my motion.
second.
do we have a first and a second to approve? Councilmember Riddell, did you get all of that?
No, we're approving everything except the bicycle range?
No, we're approving that too.
Okay. Yeah, I'm okay with all the in-kind
Okay.
support.
Jennifer, will you call a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Riddell?
Aye.
Councilmember Bogue?
Aye.
Councilmember Duncan?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Allen?
Aye.
Mayor Avila?
Yes. All right, moving to the financial requests. And do we have any input? I promise I do
I'll
that.
give you my numbers, sure, because I love the fact you sent us the spreadsheet, and it really helped with getting the math done and having all the numbers add up perfectly, which I like to have happen. So under my name, I went ahead and the Learning Garden, that's a one-time expense, and so, yeah, I gave them the whole amount as requested, the $2,500. For the leadership event, I gave them 50%, so $1,000. Typically, I shy away from giving money back to the school district because they have their own funding source, so hopefully the school district can match the request. So I put $1,000 under there. For the Yucaipa Community Foundation, that one's done. For the Yucaipa Elks Lodge, I allocated the $1,000 that they were asking for. Then for the Meals on Wheels, I believe that's the next organization, is that correct? That's the organization that does Meals on Wheels for us, is that correct, Ray? Yes, okay. And they need refrigerator for their food, so it seemed like a legitimate request. I went ahead and gave them the $2,500. And then I really liked the thing with the gem and mineral. Again, that's a one-time thing, so I put $2,500 for that as well, and then the remainder to the women's club, so that'd be $3,925.
I'm sorry, I stand corrected. We have three different entities that go by the Yucaipa
Family assistance.
This is the one by the senior center, not the one that provides the meals for seniors. That's the Moreno Valley Family Service Association. So this is the one that is near the Center Park, I guess.
Oh, okay.
This is the one on Avenue B, I think, that, right there, that they
Oh,
help.
okay. Well, still, yeah, I'm fine with it. So, and that adds up, right, to the 17,425? Is that what the total is down there? Okay. Those are my numbers.
I guess I'll go next. I kind of made it easy for me. The Elks gets their 1,000. Everybody else gets 2,000 with the exception of Family Services of Redlands and the Smiles for Seniors. I gave Family Services of Redlands 2,200 and Smiles for Seniors, the remainder, which was 2,235. And that should add up to 17,435.
Can't see it, so.
Now, this didn't include anything to do with the CARES.
Weren't we going to remove them from the?
We can, and then,
I think the issue is that whatever comes from the CARES Act has to be spent by the end of October, and whether or not council wishes to fund either one of those beyond October, that's the question.
well, that's, and then we can move, I don't have anything, I didn't adjust that. That's just when I came in before we discussed the CARES thing. So however, I'm flexible on that. Bobby, do you want?
So which one did Denise give? I think I agree with Denise right down the line. Family service.
Well, it's hard for me to figure out just because where did we go with the funding on the YPAC? The community
We
foundation?
did 4,000.
4?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think I agree with Denise.
And Denise's proposal, what was the recommendation for Women's Club?
Was what was left over, which is 3925.
Okay. I agree with Denise.
Councilmember Riddell?
Well, I'm assuming that CARES is going to take care of the Yucaipa outreach, so I didn't give them anything. For the garden works, it's 2,500. Are we assuming that Smiles for Seniors will be taken care of by CARES? If not, I want to give them the full 5,000.
I think CARES will take care of them.
We've already.
Okay, then don't need to give it to them then. For Valley Elementary School, 2,000. I didn't agree with the other one, but I guess 4,000 for the Community Foundation, but I got outvoted. Elks Club, 1,000. Family Assistance, 2,500. Gym and Mineral, 2,000. And whatever's left over for the Women's Club.
It's very close. Yeah.
I think it'd be 3335 if I can, my max, sorry.
Okay, so,
So I would make a motion to approve the allocation as delineated under my column.
I'll second.
okay, we have a first and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none?
And what are we approving? Give me the numbers on them.
Jennifer, are you going to read them?
Sure. What I have is Garden Works, 2,500. Valley Elementary School, 1,000. Yeah, that's right.
Foundation is done already as a motion, so it's 4,000 across the board.
Yucaipa Elks Lodge, 1,000. Yucaipa Family Assistance, 2,500. Yucaipa Gem and Mineral, 2,500. In the Women's Club, 3,925.
Okay, we're only giving the elementary, Valley Elementary 1,000, huh?
Yes.
How much does that give the Women's Club?
3,925.
Okay. Well, I'd like to give the Valley Elementary what they're asking for, 2,000, but I'll go along with this.
Okay, so, Jennifer, did you call the roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Riddell.
Aye.
Councilmember Bogue.
Aye.
Councilmember Duncan.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Allen.
Aye.
Mayor Avila.
Yes. Okay, that moves us to item number 6, award of contract, New City Yard for me.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and council members. Good afternoon. This item is the awarded contract for the new city yard site grading project. This is part of the Oak Glen Creek Specific Plan and the Wilson 3 Basin Project. With the development of the Oak Glen Creek Specific Plan that was approved by City Council in February of 2018, the city's public works maintenance yard and the record storage facility will need to be relocated. The exhibit on the screen shows the conceptual landscape plan for the Oak Glen Creek Specific Plan, and the area delineated in red is the existing city yard location. The proposed city yard location, or the new city yard location, is located on the east end of the specific plan area, just south of the Wildwood Calvary Chapel Church. The signed memorandum of understanding between the city and flood control, it identifies that the surplus property that is currently owned by flood control will be their contribution towards the construction of the Wilson 3 Basin Project, and that MOU also reflects the city purchasing the 3.4 acre property from flood control for the construction of the new city yard. And that, again, that area is just south of the Wildwood Calvary Church property. On June 8th of this year, City Council approved the purchase and sale agreement for the purchase of this piece of property, and that sale is currently in escrow. However, the city's encroachment permit from flood control does allow the city to begin the grading work on this property even before the property takes ownership, or before the city takes ownership of the property. At this time, staff is proposing to begin the construction of the city yard, the new city yard, as well as the Wilson 3 Basin project. And that construction is to be completed in phases for several different reasons, some of them being in order to meet some grant funding and environmental review deadlines. In March of this year, this project, the grading project for the new city yard, was advertised for construction. The contract work includes the grading of the site, as I mentioned, and on the screen is an excerpt of the grading plan, which shows the access road, the proposed buildings at the site, some covered storage and carports, and of course parking for the new city yard. The access to the city yard there are 2 points of access. One is proposed from the east through the fire station property. The other one is from Oakland Road, which will be a shared access road and maintenance road along the flood control channel. This grading plan also shows some grading for parking on the north end there that connects to the parking lot at the Wallwood Calvary Chapel. That is part of the land exchange agreement that was approved by City Council last year, where the city is going to exchange property with the church. This property, the parking area that is shown here is a property that will be owned by the city that will be transferred to the church. And just to the northeast or northwest is the property that the city will be obtaining for from the church for the channel improvements and also for the access road. This next exhibit just shows some of the proposed landscaping that's part of the yard. I wanted to show this exhibit because the landscaping or the trees that are being shown along the south and north perimeter, those came from input from the community meetings that were held several years ago, where city staff gained input from the neighbors to the south. They had requested or recommended that there be some type of buffer between on the south side to screen the city yard from the neighbors to the south. In April of this year, 9 bids were received. At the bid opening, the contractor James McMinn Incorporated was the apparent low bidder. After reviewing the bids, staff found several mathematical inconsistencies in their bid. Several days later, the second low bidder, Three Peaks Corporation, submitted a bid protest identifying those mathematical inconsistencies with the apparent low bidder's bid. Staff consulted with the city attorney's office to review the bids and also looking at the public contract code and found several things. The first one being that the inconsistencies in the bid submitted by James McMinn were not inconsequential. The second being that the inconsistencies impacted their final total bid price and that those inconsistencies provided this contractor with an unfair advantage over the other bidders. So as a result, and based on those findings, staff is recommending that council deem the bid submitted by James McMinn as a non-responsive bid due to those bid irregularities or inconsistencies, and award the construction contract for the project to Three Peaks Corporation, and that contract amount is $156,804. With the proposed construction contract contingency amount of $15,680 and the cost for the staff time, inspection, and survey, and the material or soils testing required for the grading, the total estimated construction budget is $196,484. The fiscal table on page 257 of the agenda identifies the various funding sources for this project. Not only this project, but for the Wilson 3 Basin project. Those funding sources are included in the approved fiscal year 2020-2021 capital improvement program. Those funding sources total over $16 million, $12 million if you exclude the proposed $4 million loan from the state revolving loan program for the Wilson 3 Basin project. So with that funding, there is sufficient funding available to accommodate staff's recommendation. And tonight, or this afternoon, staff is recommending that council approve recommendations 1 through 5 as listed in the agenda report for this item. And that concludes my report, and staff is available for questions.
Thank you. Any questions of staff? Any comments?
This is Dick Riddell. I'd like to approve the item.
I'll second it.
We have a motion to approve and a second. Any further discussion? Jennifer, you call a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Riddell.
Aye.
Councilmember Bogue.
Aye.
Councilmember Duncan.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Allen.
Aye.
Mayor Avila.
Yes. Okay, moving on to item number 7, exclusive negotiating agreement, BREWCAIPA. And that'll be presented by Caroline.
This is Ms. Caroline Velarde, our Economic Development Analyst.
Good afternoon, Mayor, members of the City Council. For your consideration this afternoon is the exclusive negotiating agreement with BREWCAIPA LLC for a portion of APN 0303-253-41. The city's history with the subject property actually began in 2014 when the City Council approved the purchase and sale of this property, as well as several others on the northwest corner of the Boulevard and California Street in the Uptown for the development of the Yucaipa Performing Arts Center. In the subsequent years, the City Council approved agreements with BREWCAIPA LLC that allowed the brewery to occupy, lease, and eventually purchase the city-owned property located at 35058 Yucaipa Boulevard, which serves as the existing location for the brewery today. Since BREWCAIPA's occupation of the building in 2017, the brewery has been extremely successful in providing a significant activity boost in the Uptown. In March 2018, the council approved a lease and exclusive negotiating agreement, or an ENA, for the adjoining land adjacent to the BREWCAIPA building, which the subject property of the ENA that is before you this afternoon. The land lease allowed BREWCAIPA to expand their brewery operation with a temporary food facility, additional seating, and a beer garden, while the ENA allowed BREWCAIPA the opportunity to research and prepare conceptual plans. In February 2019, staff completed the parcelation that split the parcel, which included the building, land, and adjoining land, into two parcels in order to facilitate the sale of the building. So as you can see on the projector, this is an aerial photo of the subject site as well as the BREWCAIPA building. One of the parcels includes the BREWCAIPA building and the land in which it rests on, and another parcel includes the adjoining land extending to the Uptown Park and Plaza. Since the initial ENA was approved in 2018, BREWCAIPA has been working to prepare a development concept for the adjoining land. However, over the past year, economic circumstances and, as we all know, the COVID-19 pandemic has impacted BREWCAIPA's ability to meet the terms of the previous ENA. And so although the land lease and the ENA for the adjoining land has expired, BREWCAIPA is once again committed to completing their project under the terms of a new ENA for the land adjacent to their building. So the subject site of the ENA is approximately 0.46 acres in size and identified as a portion of APN 0303-253-41 because it excludes the city's easement on the public driveway located along the eastern segment of the parcel. This ENA, if approved, would allow BREWCAIPA and the city to come to an agreement upon the land uses, scale, and scope of the future project. Key provisions of the agreement include 6 months for BREWCAIPA to obtain a CUP for their development plan, an automatic extension of an additional 6 months if a CUP is issued within the initial 6-month period, city manager's authority to extend the initial 6-month period and or the 6-month extension period for 45 days, BREWCAIPA's timely performance during the entitlement process, including providing feedback to staff and accepting conditions of approval imposed in the CUP, and the city manager's authority to terminate the ENA if BREWCAIPA does not agree to the final draft of the CUP conditions in a timely manner. This ENA is intended to lead to a development and disposition agreement, or a DDA, which would detail the price and terms of payment for the land, development obligations for the site, and property use restrictions that the City Council would deem appropriate for this location. Should BREWCAIPA fulfill the ENA, the terms of the ENA and the terms of a DDA are negotiated, staff will return to Council for approval of the DDA. In terms of a fiscal impact, there are no direct costs associated with entering into the ENA with BREWCAIPA. In conclusion, staff recommends that the council approve the exclusive negotiating agreement with BREWCAIPA LLC to negotiate the the potential purchase of a portion of city-owned property identified as a portion of APN 0303-253-41, and authorize the city manager to execute the necessary documents to complete the agreement process. This concludes my report. If there are any questions, I am happy to answer them at this time. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, if I may, Mr. Mayor, just to add to that, just for the record and perhaps to make sure it's very clear, council may wish to add a stipulation in the E&A recognizing that the city would be required to go through the surplus property disposition process during this E&A period.
All right, any questions of staff?
I'll move approval.
Sorry,
Oh,
public comment. I
okay, we
do.
have one public comment that
Yes, sir.
came in.
Yes, sir.
Go
From
ahead.
a concerned citizen. Concerned citizens of Yucaipa are wondering why no mention of the Surplus Land Act was made in regard to the BREWCAIPA staff report. The parcel of land that BREWCAIPA is located on would seem to fall within the scope of the act until it is made abundantly clear that no violations of the SLA are being committed by leasing or selling this parcel. The city's arrangement with the BREWCAIPA establishment will appear as many other past business deals and contract awards do as another case of cronyism and backdoor dealing on the part of certain city council members.
You get a name of that person who wrote that?
No, they put concerned citizen.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right, so open up for discussion.
Didn't you move the item?
Oh,
I did.
you moved?
Second.
And a first and a second. Any further discussion?
Just to clarify, that would include the city manager's recommendation to include the provision about the compliance with Surplus Land Act.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Hearing no further discussion, Jennifer, take roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Riddell,
Aye.
Councilmember Bogue,
Aye.
Councilmember Duncan,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Allen,
Aye.
Mayor Avila.
Yes. Okay, we move on to item number 8, which is a public hearing. We'll open the public hearing, and the subject is City of Yucaipa, tentative tract map 20130. Mr. Matlock.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and City Council members. Before you is case number 17093. It's a tentative tract map 20130 and a development agreement between the city and Woodside Homes related to the development of a 144 single-family subdivision property within the Oakland Creek specific plan, and then a single lot for the designated innovation district of the Oakland Creek specific plan, and then some additional lighter lots related to both landscaping and offsite or drainage improvements for the Wilson 3 project. So kind of a bit of a history for the Oakland Creek specific plan. This was a long-term guide for the development of the project site. Accommodates 3 major components of development on the subject property, including the residential district, which allows for up to 200 homes, consistent with the city's RS 72C land use district requirements. The open space district, which includes the Wilson 3 drainage project, the detention and retention basin designed for flood control purposes in both that subject area, but also downstream in the Dunlap acres and removing the floodplain on those within those areas. And the innovation district, which would include the city yard facility and then an additional facility off Bryant Street. That project itself, or the specific plan, was reviewed by the Plan Commission, recommended at their November 15th, 2017 meeting, and then it was ultimately adopted by City Council on February 26, 2018. Now, just for kind of contextual reference, is an exhibit showing the land use plan showing or demarcating both the residential district areas off of 2nd Street and Oakland Road, the open space district, which includes the location of the Wilson 3 project, or Wilson 3 Basin project, and then the innovation districts. The slide itself just provides more of a color rendering of the Wilson 3 Basin project with a nice decorative light feature, landscaping that surrounds that lake feature, as well as a public park facility at the north end of that site. So this is an older exhibit, but at least just gives a graphic representation of the Wilson 3 project within the Oakland Creek specific plan. Now before you is kind of two parts of the project. One is the tentative tract map 20130. This map was reviewed and recommended by the Plan Commission at their November 15th, 2017 Plan Commission meeting, and then was also provided for reference at their June 17th, 2020 meeting for the development agreement. And then this tentative tract map has been designed consistent with the specific plan. I'll just briefly touch on the highlights of the specific plan design for council's reference. As I mentioned, the residential lots, it's 144 lots designed consistent with the RS 72C land use district requirements as delineated within the Oakland Creek specific plan. The lot sizes within that subdivision range from 7,200 square feet to over 12,000. And then the lot widths are at least 60 feet as required by the development code. And then it does provide a variable setback so that as the homes are laid out, you have a more interesting street scene. And then the architectural review for the subdivision was approved by the Planning Commission on their July 1st, 2020 Planning Commission meeting. The final lot, or lot number 145 of the subdivision, is the area designated for the Northern Innovation District site, and then this is for the city yard facility that was referenced earlier. The land use compliance review has already been processed, and then the Plan Commission did review that architecture design at their November 15th, 2017 Plan Commission meeting as well. And then finally, there's letter lots that includes the realignment of Wilson Creek and the open space associated with the Wilson 3 Basin project. There's also letter lots for street adjacent landscaping along the periphery of the site that would be maintained by the LLMD, or Lighting and Landscape Maintenance District. And then these landscape areas have been designed to meet both the requirements of the specific plan as well as the city scenic corridor requirements as well. And then for the circulation, access is provided along Oakland Road and 2nd Street at Amberleaf Way and Sunnyside Drive. Street improvements do include modifications to Oakland Road to have a 44-foot wide right-of-way and a 32-foot center line to curb dimension. 2nd Street is also improved along the frontage to have a 33-foot right-of-way and 18-foot center line. And then the roadways would be developed with curb-adjacent landscapes. New traffic signal will be installed at the intersection of 2nd Street and Oakland Road, which was previously awarded by the City Council at their January 27th, 2020 regular meeting. And then modifications would also be completed at the intersection of Sunnyside Drive and Oakland Road. And then interior streets would also be developed as part of the subdivision to provide access to those residential lots, and includes 5-foot wide sidewalks. And then again, this design and arrangement is consistent with both the city standards as well as the provisions of the Oakland Creek specific plan. And then the grading itself will be designed where the Basin 3 project would be lowered. The open space areas would be lower in elevation relative to the current conditions to facilitate that drainage component. And then the access fill will be used to raise up some of the residential pad areas. And so that would remove those pads from the flood zone, but then also provide a more flat area for the residential component to the project, and then also facilitate that Wilson 3 Basin project. And then the individual lots have been arranged to allow for 2-to-1 landscape slopes between the pad areas, with the property lines aligning to the top of those slopes. And then finally, this project itself is the implementation of the Oakland Creek specific plan. As noted before, the Wilson 3 Basin project was designed to accommodate the drainage of existing runoff, and as well as a project consistent with the city's adopted master plan of drainage. This project, the Wilson 3 project, would facilitate that. And then, as council may remember, the Wilson 3 Basin project does remove those flood zone risks on site as well as downstream from including the downlot acre. And so this is one project as part of the Oakland Creek specific plan that helps to implement those provisions. And then as part of the project is a development agreement between the city and Woodside Homes. Purpose of a development agreement is to provide expectations for the development, encourage the participation between the different parties on the development, and reduce economic risk of development. And then it is to implement and support both the general plan and Oakland Creek specific plan, which the development agreement does through the project. Draft DA was provided for commission review and was recommended at their June 17, 2020 Plan Commission meeting. A couple of key notes on the DA deal points is that the city will acquire the surplus property from flood control district. Developer will purchase that surplus property through the city through a purchase and sale agreement. Developer will complete the final map process for the subdivision compliant with the approved tentative map design. There is a 10-year term for the agreement, and then as part of some of the offsite improvements, the developer will construct the public park within the Oakland Creek specific plan and be responsible for all of their applicable mitigation measures for the specific plan specific to that residential project. And then the city itself will be responsible for the Wilson 3 Basin project and relocation of the city yard. The city, as noted before, has already awarded the contract for the installation of the Oakland Creek or the Oakland Road and 2nd Street traffic signal. The developer will also be receiving credits to applicable development impact fees that are constructed by the developer. And then the city will provide the developer the application of the statewide community infrastructure program or STIP funding for financing of development impact fees if the CFD through the school district does not materialize. Now, as part of the project review, a environmental impact report was previously adopted by the city council for the specific plan. As part of the EIR, all potentially significant impacts were able to be mitigated, so there was a statement of overriding considerations. The EIR did include mitigation measures that are responsible through the development of the project, and so those applicable mitigation measures are included in the tentative draft map conditions of approval. And then as part of the California Environmental Quality Act guidelines, no additional environmental review is required pursuant to section 15168. This project is consistent with that EIR, and so therefore is able to fall within the previously done environmental review. And then with that, staff or city, the Plan Commission did recommend approval of the project. As part of the council packet that was provided, a revised condition number 130 was routed out for the project that clarifies a little bit more of some of the offsite improvements that are to be constructed by the development of the site with the development agreement that's proposed. Staff did want to clarify, though, as part of that revised condition 103 or 130, is that the street improvements that are referenced to be constructed are for the existing streets, so Oakland Road and 2nd Street. The interior streets would not be subject to the provisions of condition 130, and so staff does request the ability to clarify or kind of augment that condition of approval a little bit, so it's a little bit more clear that it's only for existing streets and not the interior streets to be built and developed as part of the development of the actual tract map. And so I'm happy to answer any questions, and then the representative team with Woodside Homes for the development agreement is also here to answer questions as well.
And if I may, Mr.
Yes.
Mayor, two things very quickly. Number one, I wanted to clarify, there is a pre-existing right-of-way, Eucalyptus Street, that circumvents the property from east to west. That will be vacated as a part of this project. As council may recall, it was one of the concerns raised by nearby residents. We did another traffic study indicating that we didn't need that street after all as a part of this project or the surrounding community neighborhoods. And then for clarification, the Innovation District has a total of 20,000 square foot building space allowed, just for the record.
Okay. Any questions of staff? I have a real fast one. Ben, if you can bring up the tract map and show me where the corporate yard's going to be?
Essentially, the city yard facility, I'll grab a laser pointer, but it's south of the existing Wellwood Calvary Chapel site. And so that was, as part of the land use map for the Oakland Creek specific plan, had identified that as the Innovation District. And so that would be, as delayed on the tract map, lot number 145, and that would be that location. And then essentially this would be the residential component within the Oakland Creek specific plan, the open space associated with the Wilson 3 project, Wilson 3 Basin project, and then lot number 145 for the.
You're going to have open space between the city yard and the tract?
That is correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Any other questions?
I have a question. I see that we have an entrance on 2nd Street. Is there another entrance on Oakland Road? I see something up there.
So it's off of Oakland Road and then 2nd Street. So Oakland Road and Sunnyside Drive would be the second location of the entrance. So that is
Sunnyside Drive right
yep.
there.
So the existing traffic signal would be modified to include essentially the traffic light to accommodate the particular subdivision.
Okay.
What's the distance between signals, 2nd and Sunnyside?
I believe it's around 887 feet, if I'm looking at the right number. And then there would be no modification of that existing street location.
So it's over 800.
That signal's going in though, right? We're just waiting for the poles.
Yep, waiting for the pole to be delivered and so that that can be installed.
Yeah, that project's already got a green light.
Okay, if no other questions of staff, I'd like to bring up, if they'd like to have, say anything, the applicant, representatives, more than welcome to speak.
Good afternoon. I'm Mike Jagels with Woodside Homes. We've been working with staff on this project for some time now, and we're really looking forward to getting out there and starting to develop the site and provide the community of Yucaipa with new homes. This project really excites us. We accept the presentation that was provided and be glad to answer any questions that you may have.
Doesn't seem to be any questions from
Okay.
us. Thank you very much.
Take care.
Okay, we do have two comments, unless Jennifer has any. First one is Leola Green.
Okay, I'm Mrs. Green and I'm in North Bench. The motto of this town was a bedroom community 25 years ago. The town shares space with coyotes, tarantulas, bobcats, skunks, possums, squirrels. We have had 4 power failures in our area in this first half of this year alone. It is no longer 4 hours of inconvenience, now become like 15 hours of inconvenience. The water in my area has not been flushed for about 5 years. We have silt and rocks and everything that's coming into my filters. The streets in this city, for example, like the sinkhole on Bryant from Yucaipa, across from the 7-Eleven, you're driving sideways. Oakland has had enough traffic on it as it is. With power and water problems in Yucaipa, are we really ready to add more people to the city? I think not. Why is this issue on the agenda when we're dealing with COVID? Why is it being pushed? You've got 65% elderly in this town. They need to be home. They need to be protected. We are losing our open spaces to this. So why are we having this when we already have enough housing and everything as it is? Thank you.
Thank you. Norma Green.
think you are not, or you've been overlooking the power outages that we have, at least 7 a year. Whenever the wind blows a little hard, we got a power outage. We have a power outage when it rains. We have a power outage when it's nice and sunny. We have power shutdowns. So with that, I'm just taking that into consideration, nothing else. She's already brought up about the water. But just taking that in consideration, do you want to put 177 homes in there that's going to have the same type of problems that we've got? The water is dirty smelling. This is going to put a real damper on our water. It's going to put a real damper on our lighting. And I'm a little upset because they're like cracker boxes. 177 is unreal. That's not even a lot. It's a half, that's not a half lot. It should be at least a half acre with at least 2,400 square foot homes built in there, which is going to cut down their costs. But then where's their school going to be placed? You should be working with us as far as getting another school if you're going to put that kind of people in there. So you got a lot of opposing people here. That there's too many problems here that you need to spend money on before you take on that. And that's just the first of the cake. So think about it before you cut it a good deal. It's not an approved deal.
Thank you.
Just for the record, it's 144 houses, right, not 170?
Correct.
Supposed to be 2,400 square feet with half-acre lots.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, any applicant rebuttal? See none, okay. We'll go ahead and close the public hearing and open it for discussion.
I'll move the item.
Okay, we have a motion to approve.
And I'll second, because I think it's a fantastic project.
Any comments?
I agree.
All right, we have a motion, second.
Just clarify, that would include the amended conditions as recommended by staff.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, since there's no further discussion, Jennifer, take a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Riddell,
Aye.
Councilmember Bogue,
Aye.
Councilmember Duncan,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Allen,
Aye.
Mayor Avila.
Yes. Okay, so now we move on to announce.
Actually, Mr. Mayor.
I'm sorry?
I apologize. I was not paying as close attention as I should have. Staff needs to read the ordinance title. So if we could just have Mr. Matlock do that and then have another motion to introduce the ordinance as read.
Okay, Mr. Matlock?
All right, ordinance number 395, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Yucaipa approving a development agreement between the City of Yucaipa and Woodside OS or O5S, a California limited partnership, to enable the development of 144 residential lots in the Oakland Creek specific plan area.
Okay, we have a motion.
I'll move that.
We have a motion.
I'll second.
And a second. Jennifer, we take one more roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Riddell,
Aye.
Councilmember Bogue,
Aye.
Councilmember Duncan,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Allen,
Aye.
Mayor Avila.
Yes. Okay, now we'll move on to announcements. Any announcements from City Council? Nothing. I believe we have a closed session item. Mr. Snow? And congratulations, gentlemen. I apologize for not bringing that up sooner. Thank you very much for your cooperation and look forward to a wonderful, wonderful project. I'm sorry, Mr. Snow.
One moment here. Let me just get back to my agenda. My iPad is not. Okay. We have two liability claims this evening. And the first is, let's see, liability claim 2020-06, Morgan Putsket Forsyth. The second is a liability claim number 2020-07 from Robert Falk. We would not expect, or excuse me, we would expect reportable action on those items this evening. There's also a third item, conference with the real property negotiator regarding assessor's parcel number 0303-181-14 and 15. City's negotiator is Mr. Casey. State of California is a negotiating party, and under negotiation is price in terms of payment, and we would not expect reportable action on that item this evening.
Okay, we'll go ahead and adjourn the public meeting, and we'll take a 5-minute recess while we organize for our closed session. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for participating in our wonderful government process. The public meeting is adjourned.